Oh, you big, beautiful world, you. I am King RP, host of Brothers of Many Words. I am life. I am energy. I am the possibility of what comes next, moving with purpose, speaking with power, and becoming more every day.
Yes, sir. I am your co-host, King Mackie, better known as Sir Rude the Great. I am necessary.
I'm your co-host, King Christopher. I'm here to recognize truth, evaluate the path, leverage knowledge, wisdom, and
Absolutely. Today is a
discipline, and
beautiful
implement
day.
change through action.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It absolutely is.
It's good to
King,
see you
hit
guys
us with
today.
that affirmation.
You too. You too. Affirmation. We stand together as brothers, united in purpose and grounded in respect. We move with love, speak with clarity, and carry peace. No ego, no division, only growth. Each voice matters. Together, we build something greater. We are aligned. We are ready. Peace in our energy, power in our unity, and purpose in our message.
It is done.
It is
To all
done.
those who are joining us, welcome to Sunday Book Club, powered by Brothers of Many Words. This is a weekly space for meaningful reading, honest conversation, cultural insight, personal growth, deeper understanding. Each book becomes a doorway into wisdom, history, identity, discipline, purpose, and transformation. This year's topic is the origins of religion. The origins of religions. The book that we are currently reading is Yes. The Origins of Africa. The book we are
Origins of
currently
Africa,
reading
brother.
is African Glory by author J.C. DeGraff Johnson. Just to give you a little bit of insight on Mr. Johnson, he was born John Coleman DeGraff Johnson in Ghana. Was an African historian, economist, and scholar best known for African Glory, the story of vanished Negro civilization, which is the book we are currently reading. First published in 1954. The book challenged racist and Eurocentric interpretations of African history by presenting Africa's ancient civilizations as sophisticated, influential, and worthy of serious study. Educated in West Africa and Britain, DeGraff Johnson brought both scholarly training and cultural understanding to his work. His writing helped restore pride in African heritage, emphasizing that African history did not begin with slavery or colonization, but with powerful civilizations, knowledge, leadership, resistance, and collective achievement. How is everyone doing today? That's right.
Love and life, brother.
Been busy, King?
Life is to be loved. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah, yes. Did it last night?
You see my face. Look like I only had about 2 hours of sleep. Yeah, it's been busy. I didn't have to go in, but I have to maintain order. So we're basically the dispatch hub for all of our sites. So we're servicing at least 6 different condos. And so when we get calls in, I have to dispatch them to the officers or even go check it myself, depending on the severity of the issue. And that's at about 4 o'clock in the morning. So I'm up to about 4 to 5 o'clock, depending on the call.
How about yourself, King Chris?
Love and life, man. Doing wonderful. I wish we had some sunshine, though.
Really?
I'm not want to talk about the weather much, but it's been nothing but rainy and cloudy here.
Sunshine and daffodils.
Oh, yeah.
In Texas.
No
sunshine and daffodils. Getting a little smoky, though. Starting to get a little smoky in this camp. That's for dang sure. That's for dang sure. Wow.
It's actually storming here right now.
Yeah, I don't know. That's my movie days. That's my day. Man, we get downstairs, bro. We get blankets, we cuddle, bro. We watching
right. That's right.
Look, Gabby's Dollhouse movies to all, bro. Yeah, we all day movie watching. Oh my goodness.
Bluey, oh my God.
Yes.
Bluey for sure.
Yes. And Bluey. My kids love Bluey. Like I had to change Peppa Pig. Peppa Pig's got
yes.
Man, they you gotta watch it. I don't know. We watched the old version of Peppa Pig.
All those cartoons.
Not the new version of Peppa Pig. So
Gotcha.
Yeah.
We don't have any of those streaming services no more. Yeah. We canceled Netflix. So
I know you. I know you said that.
I use Angel Studios, and my kid likes watching. They got some Tuttle Twins is a good show. If you ever
Okay.
Tuttle
watch
Twins.
that,
Yeah.
Hit us with a
You
little
mentioned
I like
few
Tuttle
words of
Twins.
inspiration right fast. Life becomes more truthful when you are quiet enough to hear what your soul has been saying beneath the noise. What is fundamental is not status, comfort, or approval, but the courage to know yourself, the discipline to grow, and the humility to keep learning. The deepest journey is inward, where your wounds, values, and purpose meet. When you face yourself honestly and live from that truth, life stops feeling borrowed and begins to feel sacred, grounded in your own. I can think that. I think that's pretty good.
Hmm.
All right. Last
That's
week
very good.
we covered
too.
chapters 5 through 7 in the African Glory. Chapter 5 was the Vandals in Africa. It discusses how the king of the Vandals, Genseric, not once but twice deceived both Count Boniface and Empress Placidia by accepting their invitation for help and then conquering their kingdoms. It also discusses the rise and fall of the Vandals as well. Chapter 6 was the Muslim invasion of Africa. The chapter briefly discusses the persecution of the Christians, Orthodox Coptic and Creed religions, Prophet Muhammad, and the spread of Mohammedanism. Chapter 7 was the Arab conquest of Africa. The chapter discusses the great general Tariq Ibn Zarqa, deeper insight into the persecution of the Christians and the influence of the Moors. This week, we will be covering chapters 8 through 10. So let's get right into it, Kings. Chapter 8, the rise of the African empires. Speak on it, King.
Sure.
Speak on it.
Well, I think. Go ahead. You know what? I only got toward the bottom of the page. You know, when it talks about the first and second invasions of the Arabs. The first invasion of the
Right.
Arab of Africa was undertaken by a few thousand warriors, statesmen, and religious teachers who threw the sword, but more particularly through their newfound faith, gained North Africa for the Muslim world. And then the second invasion is they
Yes.
decimated Africa in a sense, but they never rebuilt. And I wonder what was up with that. You know what I mean? But the second Arab invasion of Africa was undertaken unclothed, nomadic Arab tribes who lacked culture and incapable of recognizing culture and beauty when they saw them. They destroyed but never rebuilt. And we've read that several times before of nomadic tribes coming in. And again, I guess the fact that they're nomad tribes.
I think they were more focused on resources.
Right. I would agree.
I don't think they were really focused on building empires or anything like that.
Right.
So not economically based or politically based.
Express that same sentiment, King. I mean, exactly
based.
how you said it's exactly how I was going to do it. And yeah, you guys are dead on. They weren't educated or learned men. They were uncouth, as it says, like culture, and incapable of recognizing culture and beauty. They were not into that type of lifestyle. You know, like the General Tariq first came with the 7,000, and then the second one came through. So page 78. What did anybody take from there? Well, I'll tell you what I took from that third paragraph down there it speaks on the writers of antiquity that came through, and all those, the writers that it presents. We are indebted to such writers as Musudi, Ibn Hukal, El Bekri, El Idrizi, Yuquat, El Amari, Ibn Battuta, and Ibn Khaldun for most of what we know about the Almoravids and about the Ghana Empire. The main two of those were Ibn Battuta and El Khaldun, and we'll get in. They'll speak on them further as we get along into the book, but especially Ibn Battuta. He traveled immensely, yes, everywhere, and documented a lot of stuff, and so
he did
everywhere.
He carries on over into page 79. So it's right off the bat about him, and as we were just saying, I mean, he lived a life. He lived a life. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
Yes.
And
Before we move on past 78, just one thing I wanted to mention that I thought is important is that the invading Arab tribes, when they came to Africa the second time, that they did end up intermingling with the rest of Africa. I think that's important to know.
This is true.
As we go further about this civilization that we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, and I got a brief synopsis of pretty much the different writers in this chapter. If you guys don't mind me just going over this.
Yes.
The mentions
the names
mentions a lot of them.
The names gonna beat up a little bit, but I'm gonna do my best. All right. So we got Al-Masida, known as the Herodotus of the Arabs, traveled widely through Africa, Asia, and Middle Eastern. Wrote about East Africa trade routes and African societies. One of the earliest writers to describe African kingdoms and Indian Ocean commerce. This is Abian Hako, merchant and geographer, traveled across North Africa and the Muslim world, described trans-Sahara trade networks connecting West Africa to North Africa, helped document the wealth of West African gold producing regions. And then we have Bakar, 1014 to 1094. Never personally traveled West Africa, which we're going to learn more about that. Compel reports from merchants and travelers. His descriptions of Ghana Empire were among the most valuable historical sources available. Recorded details about government, trade, religion, and society. And I have three more here. We got Al-Idris, 1100 to 1165. He created one of the most accurate world maps of the medieval era, worked for Roger II in Sicily, and documented North Africa and parts of sub-Saharan Africa, improving geographical knowledge of Africa and the wide world. And then actually two more. We got Al-Umra, famous for recording information about Mansa Musa, documents Mali's wealth from Mansa Musa's famous pilgrimage of Mecca. And then we have we'll say famous Ibn Abuta, 1304 to 1369 approximately. He, as we're going to learn more details, but he considered one of the founders of social and historiographs. Wrote extensive about North Africa history and Berber people, analyzed how civilizations rise and fall, and preserve information about African kingdoms and dynasties. Just wanted to go through a little
that's where,
historical point about
most
these
of this
gentlemen
information was obtained,
into it.
through the Arab writers and whatnot. And so Ibn Battuta, I mean, he was, listen, Syria, Palestine, Lebanon, went to Mecca, Constantinople, Central Asia to Khorasan, the city of Delhi,
Yes, he did.
China, Ceylon, Assam, Peking, Sumatra, Malabar, Syria, just India, Turkey. I mean, just insane. 30 years he traveled like that. That's amazing. And he documented.
Yes.
Sure did.
Yes. Sure did. And when he African,
and to have the sense.
Wasn't he African?
Yeah, he was North African. African.
That's right.
Yes. And he was a proud North African.
He was.
You brought up, when you were doing your explanation, you brought up the maps and stuff. And something I wanted to bring up is we were getting ready to get into the Ghana Empire. And the Ghana Empire, they just took it off the map.
They did.
They completely took it off the map.
It was massive.
It was huge.
Right.
Yeah.
Just one more thing on IBM Battuta. They doing all those travels, even before he started, he had the wherewithal to think, I'm going to document anything and all things that I do. Firsthand, he writ it down. That's again, amazing what he did and the places that he traveled. Sure.
And also to think about how they were able to travel to these places.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, think of it like back then, I don't think they had the restrictions like we do now when it comes to travel.
Yeah. Yeah. Even on page 79, he traveled to a place that was forbidden for foreigners, which is better known as Beijing to this day.
Yeah. Go. We'll move on to page 80.
Gotcha. We ready to move on page 80? I wanted to. I wanted to read something from the book, second paragraph, and this just talks about how you were saying how giant the Ghana Empire was. It says the Ghana Kingdom appeared to have been founded about 300 AD. It grew and expanded until it extended from the Niger westward all the way to the Atlantic seaboard and north to the Sahara. In its day, it was the leading state of what is now the French Sudan.
Yes. And I'm going to add to,
huge
right
commercial
above
enterprise.
That, paragraph,
oh, yeah, it was.
Sentence right there, the last
it was.
sentence that makes reference to its name. This empire derived its name from a city which was once the capital of a kingdom, but which later became the capital of an empire. And at the bottom there, it speaks on to what you were talking about, the maps and how it was literally not put on there.
Yeah. And one of the biggest reasons for Ghana's wealth was the Wangaras.
Yes.
And they didn't, and Ghana didn't actually really mine for gold. They traded salt for gold.
That he did.
That's kind of wild to think about. Like you think about today's terms,
things
like salt
that,
for gold,
spices and perfumes and dyes. Things were, they were relatively new, if you will, and so not everybody. Yes, exactly.
They were like gold.
Yeah.
When today we have spices. Like people don't actually realize how good life is today. Like, dude, people were eating bland food back then. They didn't have the spices that we have today. We just go to Walmart and buy anything, man.
True.
I don't know about that. I'd rather go back then. It was probably more original. You know what I mean? And come straight from the root than be diluted.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure it tasted better
now. Yeah. And then if you were willing to obtain spices over gold, then in general, when you think about the Eastern Hemisphere, they were so compelled to understanding their body and their health. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Then really having the greediness of gold. When you get into Eastern philosophy, health and the mindset was key to the afterlife. And then instead of just walking around with gold dangling, and having the treasures of this world, so that's why I feel like it was so important
for those countries,
for those herbs and spices to be
that
prominent
didn't have those type of resources. And so to get the first taste of that from the travelers who went there and brought those back, and like, oh, salt. This is salt.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Do you imagine good stuff tasted then?
Oh man.
Yes.
Just imagine.
You know what I mean?
Get to kill people for
this stuff. Yes.
It really is.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
We know no different.
I think that's wild.
Yeah.
We know no different.
Yeah, hell, I put salt and herbs in my water.
That's
now.
right. We know no different.
Turmeric in my water,
then,
black pepper.
Absolutely a luxury to have. So on page 81, that first paragraph right there, and I'm going to read that. The royal treasure of Ghana included a nugget so huge that it became famous throughout the known world. Earlier writers gave its weight as 30 pounds, but when some 300 years after the city of Ghana was sacked by the Almoravids in 1076, Ibn Khaldun came to record the sale of the nugget to some Egyptian merchants. It was said to weigh as much as a ton, and we speak so much of gold because there was such an abundance back then, but a nugget weighing a ton? Insane.
2,000 pounds
Where
of
is
gold.
that nugget at right now?
Yeah, that's
wow.
Amazing. Yeah, that's amazing.
Look,
British Museum.
You ain't gonna steal it. You can't steal it. You can't steal it.
Underneath the Vatican.
Yeah, or the Vatican. Yeah. No.
Well, I mean, if we trade something, according to this book, it ended up in Egypt. Some Egypt merchants bought it
back then. Yeah.
Like, how you gonna ship around a 2,000 pound rock of gold?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Wow, that's wild. That's wild. Mm-hmm. But that just tells you the prominence and the prosperity of North Africa or Africa itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, to this day, it's still prevalent when it comes to gold and gold mining.
Well, a lot of the gold came from the West Coast,
right?
The Wangaras. That's where most of the gold. Yeah.
Which we don't even know where they were even situated, because it states that they really don't know the region where they actually lived, the Wangaris.
They don't even know where they got the gold either.
That's true. That is true. So,
And speaking of Ghana, I'm gonna move on to that last paragraph down there.
yeah.
The two townships, and there was two townships, one Ghana and El Gahaba, I believe is what it's called. They were about 6 miles apart. The last paragraph: the two townships making up the city of Ghana were both very well built, and although some houses were of cities, more and more were of stone. The population was very large, and IBN Khaldun informs us that it
Mm-hmm.
was one of the greatest and most populous cities in the world. I'm going to the next page. Um, the people wore clothes of wool, cotton, silk, and velvet. A lucrative trade in textiles, fabrics, dates, copper, jewels, armor, and weapons of gold and silver were carried out from the empire. And so it just highlights, as we've read before, the magnificence of what all those resources and gold brought and how they lived. It's hard to fathom. I mean, for me to think that everybody was in such a wealthy, and it was no big deal.
So wealthy.
Yes.
It talks
Yes.
about the common folk were wealthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it goes in. So the king talks about his horses. He had 1,000 horses,
Mm-hmm.
and he said that the horses lived with him and close, and they had 3 people to take care of each horse.
That's crazy.
One. I mean, to be able to hire 3 people to care for one horse, like you got to be extremely wealthy for that.
Mm-hmm.
They said they had a person to feed the horse, a person to take care of the horse, and then a person to collect the urine and droppings, so when it touched the ground.
I'm gonna read that.
That is some expensive upkeep, man.
Everything that you just said from the writings of El Irisi, we get a wonderful impression of the pomp and elegance which characterized the rulers of Ghana. He tells us the royal palace was adorned with sculptures, paintings, and glass windows. The Fatasi records one aspect of the luxury which existed in the court of Kanisai, king of Ghana, at the end of the 7th century, with the following description of the royal stables. None of the 1,000 horses slept except upon a carpet, nor was he tied except by a silken rope around his neck and to his foot. Each of them had a copper pot into which he urinated. No drop of urine shall fall except into the receptacle, were it night or day. One would never see beneath these horses the slightest droppings. Each horse had 3 persons attached to his service and seated near him. One took charge of his food, the second of his drink, and the third took charge of his urine. In the next paragraph, we were further informed that every night the king, enthroned on a seat of red gold surrounded by numerous flaming torches, watched 10,000 of his subjects being served with supper from the royal palace. I mean, that picture is insane.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's why the Almoravids
they wanted
attacked
that pie.
They wanted their wealth. They were so jealous of their wealth they had.
Oh, yeah. Many kingdoms were jealous of their wealth. Oh, yeah. Many kingdoms. And
it was something to bring up is on the last page of the very end of 81, it talks about the township that Ghana had 2 major townships.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were representing religion on both sides. They had one that was Islam, primary town, and then one town that was pagan.
Yes. So I want to bring up something
ahead,
too.
bro.
This is so. If you guys don't mind, I want to bring up. So we talked about gold and silver, right? Did y'all not know that silver has been used for antifungal and antibacterial for over 10,000 years? Matter of fact, they stated that before penicillin came out in 1934, people were using silver to prevent water from spoiling and food spoiling, for wound care, eye infection, surgical and medical applications. It had been used for a healing mechanism for over 10,000 years. So again, it wasn't just all about the glitz and glamour of these particular, items. It was about health too as well.
I wonder if that's why they tie all your fairy tales to silver. Like, your werewolves are silver hurts them, vampires, all those fairy
may be
tales that
onto
people
something.
talk about that
Yeah.
silver is fending off the bad things.
Yeah. It says
Wow.
it says silver cures about 165 different bacteria infections. Matter of fact, my wife was a vet tech, and she talked about really bad burns or baby rashes. They use silver for a healing process when it came down to that.
So is that why people drink? What is that called? Coyote silver or whatever, that drink that people drink.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that, but that's a possibility. It's a possibility.
I know if you drink too much of that, it can make your skin
my.
blue. There was a guy that drank a whole bunch of it, made his skin blue. It turned blue.
Yeah. At the bottom of page 82 there, this stood out to me. Just that last sentence. In 1060, Ghana placed about 200,000 warriors, including some 40,000 archers in the field in a determined attempt to save the empire. And that resonated with me, because back then, 250,000 strong military is massive back then. We're talking about in 1060. And so I looked it up, and so from what I could find, they were saying that probably wasn't right. However, I read it in another book stating the same thing about Ghana, that they had an army just that size. So that stuck out to me. I mean, 250,000 strong back then for a military presence is powerful. Yes.
Yeah, that's a huge army. I mean, you'd have to feed all that, take care of all those people, the weapons, the armor.
Yeah.
I mean, so just put that in perspective. I just did a quick search for the U.S. Army, and the U.S. Army right now, they have around 900,000 people in the U.S. Army, and that's today. And that's just one small kingdom.
Yes.
And only about a quarter are able to actually fight. These were warriors that fight probably every day, just for survival. We're not talking about living in box houses and playing video games and eating bags of Doritos.
Yes.
We're talking about people who constantly were on the warpath. Yeah.
Okay, moving on page to 83. And so right into that, right up the top, we get into Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr, who was a powerful force for the Arabs back then.
Mm-hmm.
See, Abu Bakr.
He was. Yeah.
Yes.
Now, this is when the Ghana had its civil war, right?
It's on the first of Abu Bakr captured the city. Yes, and so the victory of Abu Bakr and his Almoravid forces in 1076 was a high watermark for the West African history. It resulted in a southward march of several tribes, including the Akan group, the Ashantis, Fantas, Akins, Wakapims, Wakamus, and the Gamayans. I remember King Mac, you had spoke on the Ashantis, referencing them to be their fight.
Yeah. The Ashantis were a powerful tribe. I mean, they had many conflicts dealing with the first Anglo-Saxon Ashanti War in 1824. I mean, it kind of goes down the list, but they literally fought for their land for over 100 years, including the British Army as well, too.
You're talking about after? Yeah, that was after they left.
Ghana. It was after they left Ghana. Yeah, the Akan people. Yeah, Akan people.
And they traveled all the way to the West Coast, right?
They did. They sure did.
Well, they called it the Gold Coast. That's where the Wangaras
Gold
were.
Coast colony, the Gold Coast. Yep. Which later became, after they defeated the Ashanti Empire, became the British Gold
just
Coast.
A little
colony.
bit on.
Yeah, and they had and after they left Ghana, they for a good while they experienced some hardship, because in Ghana they lived in a savannah and everything was flat. And when they left because of the war and they got kicked out, they had to discover some new techniques when they came to farming, because they went to the forest and out of the flatlands.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they couldn't plow like they were used to. They had to start cutting down trees, live close to the forest, or in a forestry area, I would say. Yeah. But that's the adaptation. That's adaptation of people. If you realize throughout this ancient empire of kingdoms, I mean, adaptation was necessary.
Absolutely. Does anybody else have anything on page 85? Oh no, wait. Page.
Now that
83, my bad. 83.
84 or 83.
83 to 84. I mean, the biggest thing here was we're just talking about the Akans when they moved, and they went into the forest. They also didn't have any livestock because that's when they got introduced to the Tsetse
and I want
fly.
to speak on that Tsetse.
Yes,
I did look that
I didn't
up,
get a chance to
man.
look that up.
Because I found
curious about
it
that.
fascinating. Listen, this is again.
All right, go ahead.
In 1060, the Tsetse fly still lives to this day. Still lives to this day. There are over 34 recorded species. It lives nearly 10 million square miles, or 10 million kilometers, or 4,000 million miles in the sub-Saharan Africa. It spreads the sleeping sickness virus. You talk about evolution. It's 1060 to 2026, and that it is still alive. That little bitty old fly. I just thought that was amazing. Yes, they are. They are crucial. They are devastating.
Yeah, they're pests.
Yeah. That's wild. That's wild. Yeah, it even says to this day the Akan people some of them have never seen a horse or a cow due to this particular fly.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. And so
they destroy livestock.
I guess it wasn't the Bill Gates going on back then. Huh?
No,
it
not
wasn't
back
everybody.
then, not back then. So a little bit further down on page 84, he spoke on the mother right. All customs show that the customs in Ghana approximate to Akan customs of today. Mother right prevailed in the city. The people were succeeded by their sisters' children, and that stuck out to me because I believe that was a Egyptian doctrine, if you will. Like nobody succeeded except for the sister's children. It didn't come from the male; it came from the female. I thought that was significant as well too. So it shows, how history was being passed down at that time.
Oh, we see that when we get into the other kingdoms with Songhai. Songhai's nephew ended up, we'll when we get over there.
Oh yeah. By his sister's her sister's son. Yeah, but we've learned that even in the book by Albert Churchward, what was the evolution of religion, right? Where he discussed that even in certain African tribes to this day, the husband is just part of the family, but he lives with the wife's family, right? And a lot of times the connection between the father and the son are not generally connected, right? It's mainly just the mother attached to the son, and then the husband is just there, but he lives with the mother's tribe or with the mother's family.
Yeah, we can. I was actually looking at this yesterday, and today we know, like, if you're a man, you want to pass off your genes and you want your DNA to move on, it's actually better to have girls than boys, because if you have girls, their eggs carry your DNA versus your boy's sperm doesn't. In the same way. And so I thought it was interesting that back then royalty was based off the offbreed and not the sons but the daughters,
right?
And then we have proof of that in today. So if you're a man, you want to spread your genes, having daughters is actually the better way of doing it.
How'd they know that? Again, how'd they know that then without the biological test and this and you know what I'm saying? To me, I think people then were attached to a higher purpose than we are now, because even when we think about the Dinka people or certain people who understood astrology and the universe before there were telescopes. I mean, it's just an amazing things that went on in Africa. It really is.
Yeah. I mean, some one more thing I wanted to mention since we're on that subject of babies is that you pass on your genes, and the women carry most of the DNA, but also like the masculine is considered the protector, right? And what I've learned is that when you impregnate a woman, the placenta is actually is made from the DNA of the father, and the placenta is there to filter everything, and so the dad is still protecting the child in the womb.
Right.
Yes.
I thought it's pretty cool.
That is amazing when you get into that, Christopher. Yeah, my wife she read about that last week.
It is.
That's pretty. That's
take a step back here.
that's
So in the chat, man,
It's wild.
had mentioned you spoke on that. How do you say it? Colloidal silver? Yes, and so that is it. And yes, people have OD'd on that silver.
Yeah, colloidal silver.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
absolutely.
That's a thing.
Yeah, it's a balance of everything for sure.
I mean, the people were using that stuff just like the methylene blue. All that stuff was being used before we had modern medicine and modern drugs being sold by pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah. Yeah, and just like every drug that's been out there, LSD was used as a healing process too. It's just that when people want to do more of it, becomes a problem. You start looking into the book called Holographic Universe, where he talks about certain tests and these after death scenarios of people taking LSD to enlighten or to awaken their inner kingdom or enter God in them. You know what I mean? It's like I said, a lot of things have been used for healing until it was misused and then taken out of the context.
I mean, specific LSD, brother, that was invented by German scientists during the World War, and they actually created it by accident. They were creating a drug for Hitler, and then the scientist made LSD by accident and was exposed to it, and then went on a trip, and then they realized how it could help humanity. But then right after that happened, that's when we won the war and we took all the scientists from Germany. And then the MK Ultra program started with LSD, started using it for mind control. So LSD was never been able to even be given to the public for study.
So moving on,
because our government took it as soon as it was created.
In 85, what I took out of those pages was the battle between the Atkins and the Almoravids on both of those pages. Leading up to the last question on page 85. You keen to get anything on page 85?
Not just only thing I've written down is that just proving that the Atkins did have come from Ghana, because I think there are some people saying that they did not come from Ghana, and their customs and culture prove otherwise.
Well, I just want to bring up the fact that, a lot of terms we use today are European based, right? Like even the Mandingos, right? They're really never called the Mandingos. They were called the Mandinka people. So, I mean, when you're taking things out of context, you take the root out of things, you know what I mean? But the term Mandingo is an older European spelling that generally refers to Mandinka people, who are part of the broader Mandina speaking people of West Africa. During the time of the Ghana Empire, the Mandinka as a district, centralized political groups were not a dominant people of that empire. The empire was primarily populated by the Sanuki people, another branch of the Mandina language family. But I just wanted to bring that into context, saying, understanding that some of these terms we use to this day are European based,
and that last
the original names of the
sentence there on page 85.
Yes, sir.
Who were the Almoravids, the people responsible for the fall of the Ghana Empire in 1076? And so from that point on, the rest is 86 all the way into 87, chronicles the order of the leaders who were in charge of the Almoravids until he gets to Abu Bakr on page 87. And that's when who took control of the Arab what am I trying to say? Let's see here. On page 87, on third paragraph, Yahya, the young commander-in-chief of the Almoravid forces, died in 1056. His brother, Abu Bakr, immediately stepped into his shoes. 3 years later, Ibn Yassin, the religious instructor and propagator of the Islamic faith by the sword, died when fighting in southern Morocco, and Abu Bakr became the absolute leader of all the Almoravids. And he was quite powerful.
Yes. And Christopher, didn't you bring up something in this chapter 86 somewhere where the sister, wasn't that his sister's child?
No, that was a little farther in Songhai.
Oh, okay.
When the Songhai king, he died, but his sister had a kid, and then after he died, his sister's kid took over because of the culture of royalty coming through the women.
Right. Okay.
But with the rise of Almoraz and the Islamic influence in the Ghana Empire, that started with Abu Daki ibn Yasin. And he was selected to teach the Quran in single.
He was, but it wouldn't accept it.
No. But he's eventually became a monk and turned into a holy war leader.
Yeah,
Ibn Yasin. He was, and then that was the rise. That's what started the rise of the Islamic influence. The Almoraz was when Yasin took control.
So at the time, they weren't even using the Quran as a religious standpoint. They were attempting to do so, but the men did not accept it very well.
No. But yeah, Ibn Yasin, he was the one that created, he led to the creation of the Almoravids. And then he decided to attack the Sonic people of Ghana due to them resisting the Islamic faith. So eventually they just started enforcing it.
Right.
Like, you're not going to blockade. And they started conquering.
They sure did. Yeah, they sure did.
Okay.
And he beat the Singles and then ended up building a monastery there.
Didn't he build 12? Didn't he build 12 within that?
I think he only built one in single, but he built.
12. Go ahead.
I know he built quite a few, though. Yes.
Yeah, he did.
Anything else on 87 Kings? Hey, moving on to 88.
No, sir.
What do you have on 88?
No, sir.
Let me see.
The Almoravid Empire was pretty big. It was known as the Empire of the Two Shores. If I can read, it's the third paragraph close towards the end. It says, within 10 years from the fall of Ghana, the Almoravids had established an empire extending from Single in West Africa to Ebro in Spain, an empire which came to be known as the history of the Empire of the Two Shores.
Empire followed the Haiti Empire, another African religious leader or Madai. And we'll see the Almoravid Empire has been described by some writers as the greatest of African empires. Nevertheless, it lasted for only a century. And there were so many great African empires.
Right. There were.
I mean, it was when I'm reading this. When I was reading this book yesterday, the last chapter, I was thinking, man, this is really like that TV show Game of Thrones. I mean, just with all the kingdoms constantly fighting new rulers every couple of years, constantly, and everyone's taking this kingdom because it's wealth or that kingdom.
Yeah. I have never seen that before. The
Game of Thrones.
You watched the whole thing?
It was phenomenal, but the ending ruined it for me.
Oh, did? Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're getting on page.
We're not going to get into that.
89. On 89, I took from like the second paragraph down is the occupation of the Moors, if you will. That's what I got from that. So I want to read.
Yes.
Right.
That last paragraph there, and this is the next book we're going to read as well. The Moors in Spain. So the misguided Spaniards knew not what they were doing. The infidels were ordered to abandon their native and picturesque costume, to assume the hats and breeches of the Christians, to give a bathing, and to adopt the dirt of their conquerors, to renounce their language, their customs and ceremonies, even their very names. It is stated that no less than 3 million of Moors were banished between the fall of Granada and the first decade of the 17th century. But the Spaniards did not understand that they had killed their golden goose. For centuries, Spain had been the center of civilization, the seat of arts and sciences, of learning, and of every form of refined enlightenment. No other country in Europe has so far approached the cultivated demeanor of the Moors. The brief brilliancy of Ferdinand and Isabella and the empire of Charles V could find no such enduring preeminence. The Moors were banished, and for a while Christian Spain shone like the moon with a borrowed light. Then came the eclipse, and in that darkness Spain has groveled ever since. The true memorial of the spoilers is seen in the desolate tracts of utter barrenness, where once the Muslim grew luxuriant vines, olives, and yellow ears of corn, in a stupid, ignorant population where once art and learning flourished, in the general stagnation and degradation of a people which has hopelessly fallen in the scale of nations and has deserved its humiliation. I thought that was significant. I mean, the whole rest of that page as well is significant.
Yeah.
All because of Christianity.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah, they didn't realize what they were doing.
and you know, and yeah, yeah, and I think when Columbus came over here with the abolishment of the Moors through Fernando and Isabel, when they came to the West Coast and seen black people with this gold and these tribal colors, and who were naive to the concept of the white man, a light brown man coming to them. That's why Christopher Columbus stated that this is going to be easy to defeat because these people are so welcoming, not knowing that on the far east of the world, they were being abolished. Black people were being abolished at that time. Started in the eastern part of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they didn't realize what they were doing when they kicked them all out, and it was all like you said, all due to Christianity, and they lost all their advancements. And that's what the Moors brought. The Moors brought the sciences, the arts, the skills,
intermarried and intermingled
Yeah,
with one another. So that last paragraph there on 90 to 91 goes into specifically that. Now they were basically killing the same people. Basically killing the same people. They were all the same blood,
yes,
if you will. But because of the skin color and because of their greed, you were killing the same people.
disgusting, man.
Yeah, go ahead. What you got?
But are we moving on to page 91? At the end of the chapter. This talks about they were talking about the Moors, how they really started liking women and they started taking more than one wives, pretty much just it goes into one guy that actually killed his wife to be with another wife.
Mm-hmm.
To be with another person. And then they started mixing the bloodlines. Christian and Moors at that time started mingling.
Okay, moving on to chapter 9, the Mali and the Songhai Empires. Again, it's one great African empire after another, after another, after another. So,
yeah, you would wonder how could you just take this out of world history? Like this is so important to understand and to know. It's just amazes me how this is almost just rewritten. Just amazing. Yeah.
Because the leaders in charge don't want people to see that there's a lot of history in Africa.
Yeah.
And they want to keep it hidden. There's secrets there.
The concept of the Moors, helping with hygiene, clean water, environmental factors of illness and diet and balance that the European people didn't even understand at that time. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous to claim that, as black people in the Western Hemisphere didn't contribute to anything in society when obviously they were the beginning of society itself. And civilization, I would say itself, not just society.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It seems to me that they're responsible for a lot.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A lot of the current things that we have today.
Mm-hmm. But it makes sense on the Western world, tapping the black people out of things is because they understand where they came from. That's why the higher ups understand that you can't let a messiah or a kingdom of black people rise because they know how powerful it could be just due to the history.
So,
of the
and right off the bat there on page 9, so Leo Africanus, and he gets some more into detail as we get into the book. But if anybody wants to speak on him right now, you can. But he goes into a little bit more detail and further into the book. Right there on page 92.
Yeah.
So what are y'all's thoughts about him? I'm curious to know. I know
Leo Africanus
was named after him. So but what are you guys' thoughts about him? Have you done any research on him?
I haven't looked. I looked up his
Yeah,
work,
so
and I
he
plan on
was
getting his
a,
work and reading it because they do have English
was an
translations.
Andalusia diplomatic author who is best known for his 1526 book, Cosmographia e Geografia de Africa, later published by Giovanni Marusio. In 1550, centered on the geography of Maghreb and the Nile Valley. The book was regarded among his scholarly peers in Europe as the most authoritative treatise on the subject until the modern exploration of Africa. So, was he European or was he African? European. Okay.
He was European, but he spoke on the basis.
I think he was mixture.
Right.
I mean,
Okay.
I don't think we really know. I mean, because North Africa, if it's from North Africa, there was North Africa was a mix of a lot of different ethnicities.
A little bit more detail into him, if you will. You got something on him, King? Okay. Okay. Moving on to page 93. 93.
No. Y'all go ahead.
93.
Go ahead.
It speaks on Sandita Gita, and his epic is powerful. We had covered him to some extent in one of the books there back then, but just on I'll read page 93, 1, 2, 3 on the fourth paragraph. So Samangura put to death his 11 brothers. So Samangura was the king of the Suso kingdom, and he was invading Ghana at the time. And so he put to death 11 brothers, all heirs to the Mali throne. But he spared the 12th, a crippled child named Sandiata. After years passed, Sandiata grew in strength and gradually recovered from his infirmity. When finally he attained manhood, he ascended to the throne of Mali in 1230. He was able to lay the foundations for Mali's imperial greatness and to win for himself the title Mari Jata, and excuse me, a name by which he is remembered even to this day by the Mandingos or Mandinka of Sierra Leone and the surrounding territory. For Sandiata or Marajata is correctly regarded by the Mandinkas as their national hero. He was powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Marajata means, hero of Mali.
That's crazy.
And I mean, can you think about that story, that comeback story?
Yes.
I mean, you have 11 brothers. This dude murders your whole family. You're a cripple. And then you grow up into a man. You outgrow. I mean,
listen, him and his mom.
Just think of that journey that he went through, and then he was the founder of Mali.
They went from place to place to place. It was just not, it was a hard journey. And you're right. He was on the move.
Right.
He was on the move.
He was on the move.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But that's what made him that better man. That's what made him that man.
No, you don't. He was the founder. He was the founder of
I mean, you don't have Mali without him.
We're moving on to page 94. Sure 94. So, what I got out of that is, go ahead. No, go. What you gonna say?
It's the end of
the Ghana Empire.
Go ahead.
King.
I'll say it was this the end of Ghana Empire.
Was not satisfied, so he tried to attack Mali again, and this time he was defeated. And this time, let's say here, Sandiata Marajata completely wiped Ghana off the face of the earth. He destroyed it completely.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But not there. There is evidence of some writings. If you go down to the very bottom of the page, that is possible that Ghana was still around in the late 1300s.
Right. Yeah.
Because there is some people that mentioned the city of Ghana. So it may not have been an empire, but I think their remnants of a city was still
moving
around.
on to page 95. So this is where we get into the title. Sandiita's successor was his peace-loving son, Mansa Yuli. Mansa is often translated into Sultan. And so that's when this title becomes into play moving forward. Does anybody else have anything on page 95?
I would like to know, like at the very top, it talks about how Sundiata moved the capital 300 miles east from Djerba to Niani in the upper Nigeria River.
Yeah, you're right.
That's a big move.
Tremendous, because they
Did it say why? Do we know why he did that?
It doesn't say why he did that. He said it was Sundiata who moved the Mali capital from Djerba to Niana in the upper Nigeria, some 300 miles northeast of modern Sierra Leone.
Yeah, I wonder was just a better grounds
you're
for,
right too,
you know, for
like,
protection or anything
again,
like
they
this for survival.
didn't have cars or any type of transportation that we have today. Could be.
I think it was more of a political thing. I think he moved there because as soon as he moved the capital, that's when he switched from being a warrior to more thinking about more economic growth and relations.
Sure did.
Which if he didn't do that, then Mali wouldn't have lasted.
Right. Yeah, he sure did say that.
He kind of set up the roadmap for Mansa Musa.
Yeah, he did.
Mansa Musa. That fourth paragraph down there. On page 96, in 1307, there mounted the imperial throne of Mali, one whose name became almost a legend in Europe, Asia, and Africa, Mansa Musa. Some historians claim that Mansa Musa's father was Kankan Musa, but this theory appears to be unwarranted, and we're inclined to accept the views of those historians who hold that Mansa Musa was sometimes called Kankan Musa and sometimes Gango Musa by French writers. Some historians claim Mansa Musa as the grandson of Sundiata. The truth is almost certainly that Mansa Musa was the son of Abu Bakr II, who was the son of a sister of Sundiata's, so that in fact Mansa Musa was the grandson of Sundiata. His story is phenomenal. Mansa Musa. His story is phenomenal. Again, it's one of those things, and Harua touched on it earlier about the history that's not being spoken on this antiquity of Africa. And he was, considered, I think still to this day, the richest man that's ever lived, if I'm not mistaken. And that page 97 goes, into the account on his pilgrimage to Mecca. And for those, for those who just joined us, welcome to Brothers of Many Words. I'm your host, King RP. I'm joined here with co-host King Mackey and co-host King Christopher, and we are discussing the African Glory, which is an amazing book. And right now we're on Mansa Musa. Listen, if pick up a book and learn some of this stuff, you'll be fascinated on the history that you do not know. And right now we're discussing Mansa Musa, who was a very iconic figure back in antiquity. His story is amazing. And so is Sundiata's Gitas, amazing stories. His pilgrimage to Mecca is insane.
I mean, when I was reading this, I remember from another book, it kind of mentioned this a little bit. This one went into a little more details. But it says that even his slaves were dressed in fine clothes, loaded and holding gold staffs.
Yes.
And so the image in my mind of him on his way to Mecca is, you guys ever watch that movie Aladdin?
Yes.
I mean, and Aladdin is kind of in this era, right? And you remember when Aladdin, the genie makes him a prince, and he marches in with the elephant and the song with all the riches and stuff. That's that's the image I got of Mansa Musa
so much
marching on to Mecca.
It devalued. What part was that in Egypt? It devalued Egypt's currency for a long years. He gave away so much gold. It's crazy, man. They had that much gold. So listen to let me
Ain't that wild?
Think about being a slave then and being a slave in modern times.
Decked out.
Yeah.
That's like me, Christmas. Yeah. Oh yeah. So per ChatGPT, they state that his wealth to this day would be worth about $1 trillion.
Wow.
He was so
$1
gracious.
trillion.
That's
He was so
insane.
gracious with
That is insane.
He was not. He was a very, very. I don't want to say
As you
he was
should.
a very learned man, but he was very kind. You know, he just gave that stuff away like it wasn't nothing, and rightfully so. But he was a.
And even though he was
right.
a Muslim,
That's right.
he wasn't
That's
keen
right.
on killing people like a lot of Islams were,
Right. Right.
like Muslims were.
Hey, you
he
don't
actually-
have to.
He actually showed mercy to people that didn't believe in
On
Islam.
page
He let them
98,
practice.
It goes
They
into
did.
his achievements, especially when it comes to learning and scholarly. The page on page 98, that third paragraph there, it goes into the universities that he built in Timbuktu in the Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, Angora.
And the
there you go.
universities he's built
Angora.
there too.
So he did a lot.
In
He did
Songhai.
great things with that wealth. You know, he didn't hoard it. He gave it away, and rightfully so.
Yeah, he did.
And
Right. Yeah,
Page 99,
absolutely.
goes into what he did as
Absolutely.
well. It's although at the end there, it speaks on his
Well-
son, Maghan, who was his successor, leading into the next chapter, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mhm.
Moving on to the Songhai Empire,
The Songhai Empire.
chapter 10, page 100. Again, these kingdoms were powerful, and it just one after Ghana to Mali to Songhai. They just were powerful, and the wealth and the resources is just immense. You know, it just Sandiata was the founder, and
Right.
Mansa Musa was the one who elevated it. To Mali to the world, and so it's great information. So okay, Songhai Empire, page 100. What we got, Kings? Mhm.
This is when the Mali Empire starts to lose power. Is because they took 2 hostages from another kingdom, and they wouldn't. I'm pretty sure they were pagans, and they didn't want to switch over to Islam. But when Maghan decided to release the 2 prisoners,
Mhm.
that was a mistake because when
Mhm.
they released them, it came back to bite him in the butt.
Mhm.
Because they held them all their
Well, the
lives, I'm
one,
pretty sure.
the
They
brother,
were
Ali
hostages. They kept in
Colin,
the palace.
was proclaimed king in 1335 with the title of Soni. So he was the founder of the Songhai Empire, one of those hostages. So it absolutely did. It absolutely did. And so
Yes.
I want to read that last paragraph down there to speak on, we.
You better. You better. I was just about to say you better.
To speak on
I was wondering who was going to read it. I have it highlighted here.
the mindset and just how, as you were talking about earlier, about how they were, what did you say? Not that they were warlike, but they were friendly. Their friendliness and how they were. And so the last paragraph there. Anybody else want to read it? Okay. The Negroes
Go for it, man.
possess
Go
some
for it.
admirable qualities. They are seldom unjust and have a greater abhorrence of injustice than any other people. Their sultan shows no mercy to anyone who is guilty of the least act of it. There is a complete security in their country. Neither traveler nor inhabitant in it has anything to fear from robbers or men of violence. They do not confiscate the property of any white man who dies in their country, even if it be uncounted wealth. On the contrary, they give it into the charge of some trustworthy person among the whites until the rightful heir takes possession of it. They are careful to observe the hours of prayer and audacious in attending them in congregations and bringing up their children to them. I thought that absolutely. You could go
That's
anywhere.
beautiful by itself. That's
not even
beautiful
have to
by
worry
itself.
about being hurt, robbed, or anything. And this was no small place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, it wasn't.
And it speaks.
Yeah, I
Go ahead.
think that outlines that. That was a great point right there. That's a great point.
I mean, I find that pretty surprising, especially coming from
It was,
primarily
bro.
an Islamic society.
Yeah.
Explain.
It was, and they were peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
And we got a lot of people in America that they hear Islam or Muslim and they automatically think violent, mean people. And that's the narrative a lot of people, they just, people don't understand. I mean, I've personally been to Islamic countries and I've spent weeks with Islamic people and they're nice. They're good people. They're some of them are kinder than a lot of Americans, and they're not forcing their religion on me.
Right.
But for some reason, these people in America have this idea that they are ruthless, violent, mean people. No, there's a small sect of Islams that are extremists.
Well,
but you find that in portrayed like anywhere. It doesn't have to be religion.
Right.
That's all that's portrayed. Yeah.
Yes.
The propaganda.
Well, then you got all the. Sure. Well, I understand your veterans that have been in war and they have fought those terrorists, right? But they were fighting the extreme version of that. They weren't fighting true Islams. That most of the world are, and for some reason they come home and then that culture gets spread. I don't like seeing people wear the infidel shirts and stuff like that. I think kind of ruins society and the idea of who those people are.
Yeah. I mean, and one thing about the Western world too is we create our own enemies. You think about Saddam Hussein. We attacked them and then apologized for stating that he wasn't involved in the 9/11 attacks, and then his son or family member rises up and creates ISIS. I mean, we create our own enemies.
I mean,
he wasn't a nice guy.
His own people killed Saddam Hussein.
He wasn't a nice guy.
No, he wasn't a good guy.
Right. Well, but I mean, my point is, though, at the same time, we've learned that certain captives who were captured, held for prison, and then rise up to be emperors and go dominate the very people who captured them. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, again, we kind of pose
That's
on
right
problems.
there. I was just going to speak on that because I was watching.
Or he created him so we can go to war.
Specifically on Saddam
That's a great point. That's a great point.
And yes, we brought him to power through our assistance. I can see the piece. We brought him through power. We assisted him heavily during the Reagan administration. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Moving on to page 101. Yes. 101.
Yeah.
What do we get out of 101, Kings? If anything. Okay.
I don't have anything on 101, fellas.
I mean that I do have written down that I mean this is when the nugget of Ghana was sold to Egypt. The emperor of Mali, of Songhai, when Emperor Suleiman died in 1359, and then Mali fell into conflict. Kamba was challenged and killed by Mara Jada II, and then ruled Mali, died in 1374.
From Titi Fly.
Sleeping.
I mean, it ain't funny. It ain't funny. I'm sorry. Okay. We're moving to page on 102. 102. What I got out of there is 102 is Songhai Ali, who had only mounted the Songhai throne in Gayo in 1461. I got out of there 102 in similar 103 too is his military exploits, if you will. The battles that he took on in conquering other parts of Africa, if you would, Timbuktu, and he took on the Masi of Yantinga. That's what I got out of there. Yes, I mean that's what I got out of there.
No, 101, the 102, the 103,
and also his death. He drowned in 1492.
I would have to agree.
In a river, trying to cross the river, if you will. But he was considered a great leader. He
was.
So I wanted to mention that Songhai Ali, the ruler of Timbuktu, I thought it was interesting that he took over Timbuktu and then he went on to attack the kingdom of Dajin. And Dajin was never conquered by anyone until Sani Ali.
That's right.
But
Crazy.
it took him 7 years, 7 months, and 7 days.
Yes.
And then eventually took over and took Dajin. They surrendered in 1476, and they lasted that long. I thought that was
page
cool.
104. There's two people here. So there's Muhammad Turi, who became Askia the Great, who turned out to be a great leader, and also Leo Africanus, as we spoke on earlier. And so on page 104, it gives a little bit of insight into Leo Africanus and where he was born and all his accomplishments of his writings in page 105. And, he also Muhammad Askia Muhammad the First, who was also another great African ruler, if you will.
Yeah, Leo talks about in Timbuktu that books were very popular and very valuable in Timbuktu at the time.
Well, as
when the Songhai Empire was running it.
Covered so far, the great libraries, if you will, and how they would send people out to purchase these materials because they was that literature was hard to come by. Even any new author that was writing anything of any worth, I mean, they paid handsomely for that material. I mean, they searched. Yes.
And everything was coming through Timbuktu because that's it was set up as a commercial. But Leo Africanus, his work, if anyone's interested, is called The History and Description of Africa. It
goes on to 106. Again speaks on Askia the Great, if you will. He was a great leader too, a great leader as well. He seems to see on page 108. I know I'm moving fast here, Kings, but see on page 108.
No.
Second paragraph. Askia the Great knew the true meaning of religious tolerance. For though he himself was a Mohammedan, he never displayed the religious fanaticism which had hitherto been associated with Islam, that you just spoke on. As a full-blooded African, he appreciated the fine qualities of indigenous African religions, and he created the post of high priest in charge of the ancestor and spirit code. And so this page, I mean, just goes on to highlight his brilliance and his kindness, if you will, and tolerance, and of being a great leader, which is those qualities are or should be a part of your makeup if you're going to be a leader, if you will. And page 109 just breaks down the empires and gives the leaders in their time periods through those empires. So you got the Ghana on from Mali and on to Songhai. And those empires follow like one after another. So that time period was magnificent for Africa, North Africa at that time.
Right.
But I mean, I feel like the latter two, the Mali and the Songhai Empire, the reason for their existence was due to the magnificent wealth of the Ghana Empire, but that was before them.
Right. I do agree.
I mean, Mali wouldn't have existed if Ghana wasn't there first.
No, they took on their
I do agree.
their belief systems and integrated. And definitely the wealth came with that. And so, listen, wealth played a big part of wealth and the resources. All that stuff played a big part in it. Because if you didn't have any of those, and as we have read before with kingdoms, you don't have those things, and you're not going to be great, especially not back then.
Right. And just all the wars just over religion. I mean, it is,
and that's something I wanted to bring up with these three specific kingdoms is when you kind of look at the Ghana kingdom, they had two towns, right? One town was Islam, one town was still pagan. So they were still holding on to their non-Islamic creed roots, right?
Right.
And then the Mali Empire was obviously predominantly Islam. And then we move on to the Songhai Empire after Mali. And yes, he claimed Islam, but there's lots of writings that he just did that for political reasons. That wasn't his true belief.
Right.
And so all this was about religion, but it, they still ended, at the end of the Songhai Empire, that was the last kingdom of this in this area. And it ended with a guy that really wasn't in Islam. He was just using the Islam faith basically because it was powerful at the time.
Oh,
Where'd Robert go?
Robert just blanked out. Okay, stand by. RPB on in the moment.
But I really think, man, like the end of, like, the reason why Songhai Empire ended is because the whole family was betrayed each other a lot. That was kind of the thing with their family. Yeah.
Right. There's lack of trust. It's hard. It's hard to prosper.
Everybody wanted to be in power and be in control.
Yeah, they did. And the fact that religion was used, to create that throne of power. I mean, when we go back to Albert Churchward into the concept of religion coming from elemental to being a woman and to being different gods, and to now, we're just making up gods in order to have some type of power over people through riches. I mean, it's just wild. And then it continues to thrive to this day. It's just, man, just step back and take a look and understand religion itself. And that's going to be my next reading, is just really understanding religion itself and understanding that it does come with the use of power and control, but just what changed over time, really what changed over time.
I mean, I think it's the separation of nature, man.
I do agree. And that's a prominent factor in that. I do agree with you on that. Yeah, I definitely do agree.
When you look at pagans, there's a lot of evil, nasty pagan religions. Right. But in general, when you look at, like, most pagan religions are based off an older one in Egypt, I think. And when you go back and look at the older pagan religions, they don't seem to be that violent. No. Besides the ones that come from the Hebrews.
Okay, you got a point there.
When they were worshiping Baal and the baby sacrifices, but those were all Hebrew pagan gods. When you get into the other pagan gods, besides like the ones down in Mexico where they were sacrificing and ripping out people's hearts, but were most of them, like the Vikings or even the and the Egyptian pagans, they didn't seem like they were. It was a different type of belief system versus like Christianity and the major creed religions were all about power and control.
Right.
While the pagan religions felt more inclusive.
Right.
And it wasn't, they didn't have the hierarchy that the creed religions do.
I do agree.
You know what I mean?
I do agree. Yeah. And even in when you talk about dealing in South America, I was looking into the exocolos and all that. And a lot of times the sacrifices they were born to that, and or they were acceptable to that. It wasn't something that they fought for. They really believed that you had to be willing to be a sacrifice. It's kind of like what it states in the Bible. Yeah. So
that's actually what I was getting ready to that's the Vikings that people would say that they killed people, but in their practices, people would volunteer themselves. I understand that was.
They would.
Yes, if you look at it from outside, it's evil. Like, oh, that person is killing themselves for their religion.
Right.
But it wasn't being forced.
Right.
They were forced. It wasn't forced. So
right.
To me, that's a totally different dynamic.
Oh, you can see me.
We can see you and hear you.
My power went out.
Thank you, baby.
For a second.
Thank you, baby. I know.
Golly. Insane.
It happens.
It does happen.
I was over here, letting them words fly right out of my choppers. Thank you, baby. All right, Kings. My goodness gracious. All right. King, I'm sorry I went out there.
Yes, sir.
You got that spotlight?
I got the spotlight. We've already been discussing most of these last two chapters, but let's go in a little graver detail. So we got Mansa Musa. The first was the ninth emperor of the Mali Empire, ruling during a period its peak in the 14th century. His title, Mansa, means emperor or king of kings in Mandu language. He inherited a state already wealthy from gold fields, but he expanded it into one of the most powerful and organized empires in medieval world. Mali Empire controlled key regions of West Africa, including gold-producing regions, salt trade routes, and major commercial cities like Timbuktu. Gold and salt were the oil and energy of the medieval world. Mali sat directly in the flow between West African mines, North African markets, and Mediterranean and Middle Eastern trade networks. So Mansa Musa just wasn't just rich, he ruled a global economic artery. Around 1324, Mansa Musa made his pilgrims to Mecca. This is where his global reputation explodes. He what made it legendary. He traveled with a massive uh, caravan, soldiers, attendants, scholars, and servants. He brought tons of gold. He gave so much gold away in cities like Cairo that it reportedly depressed the local economy and caused inflation for years. But the deeper meaning wasn't just wealth, it was his diplomacy. What he was doing was strategic, establishing Mali as a legitimate Islamic superpower, build alliances with Egypt and wider Muslim world, bringing back scholars, architects, and religions leaders to Mali. This wasn't just a religious journey; it was a soft power of continental scale. After his pilgrimage, Mansa Musa actively transformed Mali into a center of learning, expanding Timbuktu into a major intellectual hub, supporting Islamic schools, laws, and libraries, brought architects who influenced West African building styles. One of the most important institutions associated with this period was the Sakura Mandoris, an early university system. Under him, Timbuktu became known in the Islamic world as a city of scholars, manuscripts, and trade. So his legacy was a global recognition of West Africa, educating and cultural boom, economic ripple effect. Um, how to frame him? So Mansa Musa wasn't just a rich king who traveled. He was a state builder who used wealth as diplomacy, religion as legitimacy, and trade as infrastructure. He was positioned as a geopolitical strategist, a culture engineer, and a symbol of Africa's pre-colonial global integration. Our spotlight for today is Mansa Musa. Thank you.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Right
beautiful.
on, right on.
King's gonna close this thing out. Anything beautiful you want to say before we get out of here?
Brothers. Thank you, King.
I love all you guys.
Love you, brother. Love you.
Love y'all too. Great podcast. Great podcast. All right. We want to thank you guys for joining us for Sunday Book Club. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share this with someone who values meaningful conversation, and join us next Sunday as we continue building through wisdom, experience, and purpose. King Christopher, take us on out.
As always, we'll end with our 3 pillars of success: faith, trust in your own power; believe deep in your purpose; build unshakable confidence through action; dedication, show up when no one's watching; stand firm in your commitment to grow; put in the reps mentally, physically, and daily; and discipline, forge your character through consistency; set your code and follow it without compromise; control your impulses, command your results.
Beautiful. Peace, Kings.
I say peace.
Peace.